So this one is all around a vaccine for coronavirus. So as Callum's kind of touched on, and we'll probably touch on at a later date, it kind of centers around a very common conspiracy theory that a small number of wealthy individuals or corporations actually run the world and have a plan for where they want the world to go. So people like the Illuminati or the New World Order. So it states that the coronavirus was introduced in order to cause mass hysteria and have record numbers of people sign up for vaccination in order to protect themselves, making it seem like a threat is imminent to their health. Now, because of this kind of desperation, people would maybe be more willing, A, to sign up, but B, to kind of ignore the fact that it had been fast-tracked and not tested enough, which would give the government or the elites who control it or whatever the opportunity to kind of mess with this vaccination and use it for their own gain. So there's a few different reasons and a few different things that people think might be in this vaccine. The first one involves microchipping. So this might sound far-fetched, but microchips in humans are already very much a reality. In 2016, the US Navy discussed plans to plant GPS chips into everyone in the US in the interest of safety and security in order to track them, but also to aid warfare tactics. So they would literally be able to move people like pieces on a chessboard.
Oh, they found a big war.
Which was that easy on building Warzone.
Yeah.
4 people
I know, yeah.
it's just hard enough.
Coordinate 350.
Yeah, legit. This podcast hard enough to coordinate. Also in 2017, a company in Wisconsin called 3 Square Market chipped 41 of its employees with their permission and gave them T-shirts saying, "I've been chipped." And this was so they could trial a payment system where you no longer need a wallet and can pay for items quite literally with a flick of the wrist. It seems like it, doesn't it?
If David Icke's a big believer in this whole descent to total control through the use of microchipping.
Exactly. I mean, linked onto it basically. But yeah, we're already moving to a cashless society in a lot of ways with things like your touch cards, what are they called? Contactless cards, that's the word I'm looking for. Things like that, and online banking. People are using cash less and less. So if you can get all banking online or even through a microchip, if somebody misbehaves or commits a crime or something, you can just shut them off from society and they can't buy anything anymore. In Sweden.
And so I could also just almost like social engineering, sort of tell people, or use this to manipulate the way people think, how they act, keep them in line.
Exactly, like herding sheep. In Sweden, they're even further ahead as well. They had 4,000 people chipped by 2018 and 10,000 by 2020. So the chips in Sweden store like their emergency contact details. So you need to phone 999 or someone finds you passed out, they can scan like a thing on their phone into your arm or wherever the chip is, and it will give you all their details, like a little bit about you. But the weirdest thing about that is you have to pay $180 for that to be implanted into you. So people are actually signing up for things like that to be chipped. It really is. I don't think there's enough money in the world that would make me be. But yeah, so the kind of theory around the chips is that it would be in the vaccine. So people would unknowingly and unwillingly get like a vaccine with a chip in it.
At last, though, we've got something to get behind the anti-vax community for. They've been saying for years how vaccines are problematic.
They're right all along.
Exactly. And it wouldn't be the first time that a vaccine would be harmful. Callum touched on again. Thalidomide in the 1960s led to over 2,000 children in the UK being born with deformed or missing limbs due to the use of a child sedative. That was also because it got rushed through testing. It was tested on animals and there was nothing wrong. It wasn't really tested on humans. So if the coronavirus one is kind of rushed through testing as well and there's this mass hysteria to everyone signing up to have it, they could have detrimental effects whether they're intentional or not.
As well, so it's quite interesting how that links in.
Yeah, I think that would be a more believable side to the vaccination one, that this vaccine could be harmful, but not intentionally, just because they missed something in the testing, rather than the kind of bit more warped microchip one. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Oh, I just gave you a whistle.
I say there's quite a lot of stuff to unpack there, but like I say, we're going along this theory of the control element of keeping people in check and everything. There is definitely some believability there. I mean, it's very dystopian, but you can think this is what governments are thinking to potentially reduce crime rates in the interest of security as well, monitoring people, cutting them off if they're not committing wrong thing, not to 1984 levels just yet, but it seems like it's on the horizon with this theory.
I mean, it's definitely would be preferable for the government. It's just you think they have some morals, and you'd like to think stuff like this would never ever happen. So it's a bit.
I think it's also go with the New World Order theory, where everyone wants to be one complete society of just a mass of people, no countries, no nothing, maybe it's a bit more believable. But you like to think people have a moral compass still.
I know. I mean, in terms of controlling the population, that's already happened. Because if you think about coronavirus, I mean, would you, if they said tomorrow, we've got a vaccine, they're going to come round to your door and give you the vaccine, do you want it, yes or no? I think we're talking 89% of people are going to say yes to
surely.
that. So just from scaring, exactly. So just from having the virus alone, they've got people would sign up for things that they wouldn't already do. I mean, you look at the flu vaccine, how many people have that? It's far lower than this. I think there could be something in it. I think it could be damaging potentially in terms of whether there's literally just a mistake in the vaccine. But yeah, do you want to give me your ratings?
Right. Well, I think
Callum
there's
first.
more believability in the mass rollout of the vaccine capitalizing on the hysteria. If you were a proper theorist, you could think, oh, we could slip something in here and there, get these people under control. But it's still the whole moral compass argument. I think people are best. There'll be a lot of pushback if it ever got out. There'd be mass uproar on an unprecedented scale that no amount of social conditioning could prevent. So I believe the jump go 4.5. But it's a great conspiracy theory, though. It's definitely I think maybe an 8.5 on the conspiracy theory front.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I think we're on a theme here on this podcast that every single conspiracy is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's really interesting, and it's another
100%.
conspiracy here where a lot of things do actually kind of fall into place and link together. As you mentioned, like the mass hysteria, and it is being rushed through testing, and of course people would want the vaccine in their millions, in their billions. So in terms of a conspiracy, yeah, I'd say a solid 7 out of 10. In terms of believability, I do actually, to be fair, I feel this is slightly believable if it wasn't for the fact it's just so morally horrific. And I'd like to believe no government would ever be so morally horrific, or any corporation would ever be this morally horrific. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 10, John.
I think that's fair enough.